Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my June TBR. Now my last TBR I did for April, so let's go back and look at how I did. We had 7 books that I was meant to read. I did not do too well. I did manage to read our final book, the one where I had to have a hardcover, a contemporary, and a buddy read, and I chose The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers by Samuel Burr. I actually did manage to read it for my book club, so yay for me. And then we had the prompt to read a pink or purple cover, and in my video I decided on The Veiled Kingdom, and I started that but I DNF'd it because it just wasn't for me. But then I ended up reading The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson and I loved it. It is chunky, but it is one of my favorite reads of the year so far. And then we had 5 more books, and sadly I did not finish any of them. I didn't check if I managed, like with The Raven Scholar, if I managed to read something else for that challenge, but we'll just go with the ones that I chose. So for a paperback I chose The Favorites, and I did not read this one. I did start it, but I'm only like 20 pages into this. I am hoping to continue this one in June. I really like the writing style so far, and I've heard nothing but great things, even though as of now I can't quite predict where this is going or like the feeling of it, but I am looking forward to going back to this one. For the wand free choice I chose Faithbreaker by Hannah Kanna. Last book in the series, really anticipated read. I am still waiting to read this again, hopefully in June. For the bookshop to read a new book, I decided on A Cruel Thirst by Angela Montoya. This was the last book that I hadn't yet read when I was filming my April TBR, and I still haven't 2 months later. But I am still interested in reading this, obviously, but I just couldn't get around during the last 2 months. And then I had 2 arcs that I wanted to read for 2 more prompts. One was to read an arc, and for that I chose The God and the Kishin. Again, not sure if I pronounced that correctly, I'm sorry if I haven't. I'm more than 50% through this one, so I feel like I should get like a little pat on the back. I am really enjoying this one, and again hoping to finish it during the next month. And then for a cozy rainy day, Sunday, or a seasonal read, I meant to read A Floating World by Axie O, and I haven't. I was kind of waiting for the audiobook to arrive, so this is kind of on me hoping to immersion read this one. Again, still on my TBR. Hi guys, Editing B here. I just noticed that I didn't talk about my pile of shame, and so I thought I would quickly do that. One of the books on my unfinished TBR always goes on the pile of shame. That is the pile of books that I still want to prioritize from that TBR. Everything else I can kind of forget about, not really, but kind of. And so these are kind of there to shame me into reading them, but also they cannot be used for another prompt in the upcoming games. So I'm gonna tell you, the pile is still piling because I still have not read these. From my December TBR coming into the new year, I still have The Courting of Bristol Keats. From my January-February TBR, I still have The Dagger and the Flame. And then now, from the books that I haven't started yet, which could have been either A Cruel Thirst or this one, I chose this one, and that is Faithbreaker by Hannah Kanna, because this is so high of a priority that this should have already been read, but it should be read early in June. I'm hoping that by putting this on the pile of shame that I at least will get one of them read during the next couple of months. But this will shame me in the next couple of months as well. So that's that. Pile of shame. I'm sorry, but it's gonna grow and it's gonna keep being there staring at me. Going into June, I am participating in a readathon that I want to quickly mention, and that is the Amazing Readathon hosted by Brie over on 4 Paws and a Book. And I participated last year and it was so much fun. This year it's even more up my alley because we are not racing around the real world, we are racing through different fictional fantastical worlds. So I'm really excited to be a part of that. I am on Team Lore Keepers, and our bonus points for this round is to read about books that have a big family aspect to it. Found family works as well. And of course, because it is Pride Month, every book that we read for the readathon, no matter the team, you get bonus points for queer representation. So that is going on throughout the whole month. Every few days we get a new prompt. We already have all 10 prompts, but we don't know in what order they come in. So later on, after my game, I will talk about books that would work for these prompts. Now, because we don't know when these will be given to us, I mean, Brie knows, we just don't know. I might have already read the book that I'm planning to read for it, so I might choose something else for the prompts, but I'm just gonna go with it and see where my mood will take me, because I will not wait to read a book just for that prompt to come up. So I'm just gonna go with my mood, and hopefully it will coincide with the Amazing Readathon. I will leave the link to the announcement video down below for the Amazing Readathon. Go check it out. But before going into all of the prompts for the Amazing Readathon, I'm gonna go and play my own TBR game that is based on Clue. Me again. I didn't even tell you, if you're new here and you don't even know what this TBR game does, let me just quickly tell you. It is based on Clue, and I'm trying to get my murderer to murder a weapon and then end up at the murder scene in order to slay my TBR. That's why it's called Just Beat That TBR. The murderer correlates to a different genre that I could read. Then you have the murder weapon, that is a kind of format that I can read a book in. And then you have the murder scene, which is the kind of ways I can acquire a book, and all of those come together in a final prompt that is the last book that I need for the TBR. And on the way to the murder scene, I pick up other bookish prompts in order to choose my TBR from. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go back to the video. Here's hoping that the game is nice to me. I mean, last time we had 7 books and I should have read them in 2 months, but as we've seen, that is not always the case. So I'm hoping that this time around it's still nice. 7 is an okay number. So this game, TBR, will be again for 2 months. So June, July, I'm hoping that I can manage to read these books. I do have a kind of weird working month because there is going to be a lot to do in the beginning of June, and then the later half of it, going into July, I'm off from work. So I'm gonna go away for a bit and have like a little reading getaway in a little cabin near the ocean. So hopefully the weather is nice, hopefully I'm in the mood to read, and so hopefully, again, the game is nice to me. There are a lot of books on my TBR, and if you've seen my last video about the upcoming releases in June, there are so many that I am just vibing with. A lot of them I have arcs for, so hopefully I can manage to read them before they're released, or like closely to the release date. Without further ado, let's just go into the game and let's see what Just Beat That TBR has in store for me this time around. Welcome to the next round of Just Beat That TBR. Let's figure out where we're gonna start. So these are our little figurines, our murder suspects. I'm gonna shuffle them. Ooh, nice. The Magician. Fantasy, love it. That means we're gonna start right down here. I'll show you that in a minute. Now let's figure out where we're gonna go first. We have to collect the murder weapon. The Blanket, which is a graphic novel. And that is actually really helpful because the blanket is right here. So we have a very short way of going. And after that, we have to go to the murder scene where the murder is going to take place, where we're going to slay the TBR. And that is the living room. This is a really short one because the living room is right there. So the board was really nice to me, and that means when we reach the living room, we need to finish the TBR off with a book that is a fantasy, that is a graphic novel, and that I choose by playing another TBR game. Okay, wow. That's actually, I think, the nicest the game has been to me. I'm sorry that I kind of murked it up in the end because usually I don't tell myself and you where I have to go after I gain the murder weapon, so that's still like a mystery while I begin the game. Now I just went with it and I figured out where I need to end up, and that is right around the corner in the living room. but the living room is a very interesting spot to land on in the end. So in the end, we will come back to these 3 prompts that I just chose and we will figure out what to read for those. But let's go ahead and find out where we're gonna land on our first roll. The good thing is I don't have to change the camera angle again because everything that's gonna happen today is gonna happen over here. So we have the purple fantasy one, and then we need to reach the blanket, and then we need to reach the living room. Our first roll. Okay, 1. I'm not too mad about it because, like I said, the way is not too long for today. So 1, usual suspects. These are all the prompts that have to do with how I acquired a book, about the author, about stuff like that. So let's figure out. We have, arcs. And let's figure out which prompt we're going to use. The second one. And the second one is that it is an arc that is not yet released. That's actually perfect for June. So the first prompt that we got was to read an arc that is not yet released. And I can't believe that the game gods listened to me at my last video because they knew I needed a kind of push and a kind of helping hand towards reading all of the arcs that I got for June. So this is perfect. So I really need to be on it because this is released on June 5th. So I don't have too much time. I can procrastinate on this one. And that is He's to Die For by Erin Dunn. And as soon as I saw that this was compared to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I was like, gimme, 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 gimme. So this takes place in New York, just like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I don't know if you're a fan of the series, but I am, and I'm so hopeful that the vibes are the same, the humor and everything. I'm not sure if it's only because we follow a detective in the NYPD. If that's the only connection, I'm gonna be kind of mad for the marketing. But if the rest of the book is amazing, then I don't really care. So we follow Rev, and he's the youngest detective in the homicide squad. So when his CO gives him a big chance to get further ahead in his line of work, he takes it. And that is a very prominent death that occurred to someone in the music industry. And so he starts at it, but he has to be careful because he might fall for the lead suspect, which is kind of like a rock star type of guy that he comes across during the case. So that sounds like fun. A little bit of a rom-com meets mystery. I'm here for it, and hopefully the love interest isn't the murderer. A 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a free space, which means I could decide whatever card I want to draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be something about the trope. But this is the best that I can do, actually. Let's just go there. I think I'm gonna go for a Mr. Body card. These are all the prompts that have to do with the outside of a book. The title, the cover, all of that. I'm gonna go with this one. And number 6. Ooh, it has to do with the cover. To read a book with an illustrated cover. I could do that. Next we landed on a Mr. Body card, and that always means something to do with the title or the cover. And this time around it was about the cover, and it is that we need to read a book that has an illustrated cover. And again, there were so many things to choose from, but I went back to my April TBR and chose something that I really wanted to get to, and I'm so hyped for, and I just, like I said, didn't have the time for. And so I'm reading The Floating World by XCO, putting it back on my TBR. Hopefully these 2 months are the months. I am kind of prepared to go into June and just start reading this one, to be honest. This is the first book in a duology, I believe, and it is inspired by Korean mythology. And I just know XCO has like a very mythical, very like fairy tale-esque writing style, and I loved reading her latest fantasy book. I just know this is something that is gonna tug at my heartstrings. So in this we follow Sunho, and he is ex-military. He's now a mercenary. He has lost his memories from before 2 years ago, so he is just trying to survive when he learns that there is a big payout for the first mercenary to find a girl who is supposed to wield light or like silver magic. And so he goes ahead and tries to find her. Somewhere else there is a family of acrobats, and they have a pretty good thing going from village to village until there's an attack and the whole family is kind of ruined and murdered, and one of them is gravely injured. And so we have Ren, who is part of this family. She was adopted a long time ago, and she survives the attack and wants to help her family member. And so she is going back to where she fled from, where the monster that attacked her family comes from as well, in order to find a cure for her uncle. And that is where Sunho's and Ren's paths meet, and they agree to travel together and kind of work together. Sunho, meanwhile, doesn't really know that she is the one that he's looking for. They grow closer, and there's gonna be, of course, some kind of tension coming when everything is revealed. All of this sounds like something that would make like the perfect book for me, and knowing that it's a duology just makes it even better, knowing that we can go a bit more into depth with the characters and the love story and the mythology around it. So I can't wait to get to this one. Okay, we still need to get the blanket, but I don't need to land on it. I can just go by and then get to the living room. One would be good because then I wouldn't have to get another book prompt. If I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be great as well, because then I could roll again. 6, we wouldn't reach the living room yet. So let's see where we're gonna go. A 4. That looked like a very wonky one, I'm sorry. 1, we got our murder weapon. 2, 3, 4, that is a roll again. A 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We reached the living room. That was a very quick round. That's it, guys. I can't believe we only had 2 prompts before landing at the murder scene, where we hopefully are gonna slay this very, very short TBR for the next couple of months. So let's figure out the last book, because in the beginning we got The Magician, we got the blanket, and we got the living room, which means that our last book needs to be a fantasy graphic novel that I need to find using another TBR game that isn't mine. So there are different games that I could have played. Thinking of like Bookopoly or TBR Pursuit or anything like that. With some of these games, it has been a while since the original creators played them, so I decided to go with a game that the person is still playing, and that is Leandra for the TBR 0, and she's playing high or low with her TBRs. It always looks like fun, it looks like a lot of chaos, and so I decided to just go ahead and do that, which means that I need to get a deck of cards. I will choose one book or one graphic novel in this case that works for all 3 prompts, and that would like be perfect for my TBR for having like a low number of books to read this month. And then on the other side I will have the house, and the house will play a graphic novel that might not work for everything, and that means I might have to split up the prompts and read more than one book for the final prompts. So the graphic novels that I decided on, let me start with the one that would work perfectly for this, and that is A Lightfall, The Dark Times by Tim Probert. This is the 3rd in the last released one. I'm not sure if it's the final book in the series, but it is a series of like adventure. It's fantastical, it is very cute. Do I remember everything from book 1 and 2? No. So I might have to go ahead and reread the first 2, but nonetheless on my TBR is only the 3rd one. So this would work perfectly. It's fantasy, it's a graphic novel, and if I win I would have chosen it by using this game. So this is mine. Sorry about that. Let's put you up here. And on the other side is the house. And for the house, I chose Saga Volume 12 by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. And the reason that I chose this is I love this. I just received this and I really want to read it. But you might say it's not fantastical enough. Because even though it does have magic elements in it. This is mostly considered a science fiction graphic novel, and so I couldn't count it as a fantasy for the magician. In that case, I would have to split up these 3 prompts and use something else for the fantasy prompt. I could just say I would have to read both of these. I think that's the easiest way to go about it. I mean, I could just read a fantasy novel. That would work. But I think I'm just gonna say if the house wins, I have to read both. Because then I would have a graphic novel that I chose from the game, and I would also have a fantasy book to read for the last prompt. So I think that makes it easy for me, because that way I would only have 2 short graphic novels to read during the next 2 months. So I wouldn't be mad if the house won, to be honest, but to keep the TBR small, I will have high hopes to finish the game on top. The way this works is that I have a deck of cards. I'm gonna shuffle them, and I will give the house and myself each 1 card, and the higher card wins. Ace in this instance is a low card. The highest is a king. Leandra does it that if both sides get the king, then the house wins anyway. So I think I'm gonna go with that rule. But any other card, if it's a double, we will redraw. So I'm just gonna half. And let's see how we do it. So this is for me, and I have an 8. Okay, this isn't too bad. An 8 isn't too bad. So it's kind of in the middle. So let's hope it's a low number on this side. Here we go. Oh no, it's a king. Okay, it's a king. That just means I get to read Saga in June, which is actually fine. I don't mind. And since we have a very, very small TBR, it actually just means that I have 4 books on my TBR instead of 3, and that's for 2 months. I mean, if I can't make this TBR work, 2 novels and 2 graphic novels, then I don't know what's wrong with me. Let's not answer that question, future B. So please read these. So that was very nice of the game. I'm kind of perplexed. But I think that makes it very easy to go into the Amazing Readathon, having not too many like must reads. So let's go into the Amazing Readathon and talk about the prompts there. So like I said before, we already know all 10 prompts. We just don't know when in the month we're gonna get them. And then there are gonna be like sightseeing prompts. That means we get extra prompts for each leg of the journey. And if we can read other books for those prompts, it's going to be extra points for our team. So in no particular order, these are the books I'm going to read for those. The first one is a cozy or a comfort read, and I love that prompt because, to be honest, I love cozy, fantasy, mystery. All of that is just at the moment, especially if I have a lot to do during like the first couple of weeks in June. It's gonna be amazing to just lay back with an easy read. So I'm gonna put The Floating World from XEO on here. I did put it on my TBR for my game, which is bi-monthly, which just means that I have to read it in June, not in July. But again, I'm hoping that all 4 of these books will be read in June so that I can have a clean slate going into July. The reason why I picked this one for the comfort read is because I just love really like jumping into the world that XEO gives us and just having an amazing time. If it is the same as The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, it will have again a very lyrical way of storytelling, and there will be stakes, and they might even be high stakes, but you won't feel like they will rip out your like soul and crash it. And I don't know, that's just the feel that I get. So if I know that I'm okay going into this without being hurt but still having like an amazing reading experience, that is a comfort read for me, to be honest. I already told you what this is about, so just moving on to the next prompt. The next prompt is to read a book that has a romance in it, and I feel like a lot of my books will have that. I don't think I will have a problem finding something if I will have already read the book that I'm going to show you in a second. So whenever this prompt will come up, it's fine. I'm covered. But I want to put The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillick on here for this one. I've read One Dark Window. I haven't read the sequel yet. Nonetheless, I still want to go ahead and read this new release by her. And the cover alone is just pure magic. And in this we follow Sybil. She is a diviner and she has given 10 years of her life to be housed and to not be a foundling anymore. And during that time she has received dreams from unearthly beings called the Omens, and they give her kind of premonitions towards things to come. So she and the other diviners are very well sought out by high politicians and noble people in order to like help them with threats that come their way. And now her time as a diviner is almost over. She almost has her life back, but then her diviners keep going missing, and the only person that could help her is a knight that comes to where she lives, and he is very much against everything that she stands for. He doesn't really believe in the premonitions. He is very surly in that way, but he is the only one who can help her navigate all the threats that occur behind the walls of the monastery or the cloister or whatever is that she lives. So she is kind of dependent on him. And they get closer, I'm guessing, on the way to wherever they need to go. So again, a kind of mystery wrapped in a fantastical world, and I love that. Since this was released, I've only heard amazing reviews of this, and everybody's kind of heartbroken and is kind of like, why are you doing this, Rachel Gillick? So not gonna be a comfort read, I think. It is gonna be kind of gothic, I believe. So again, not comfort for me, but a very high star prediction. Seriously, that's gonna be amazing. The next prompt is to read a book with a green cover, and I decided to go with A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the sequel to The Tainted Cup, and I really enjoyed that one, and I had the ARC for this, started the ARC, got the physical copy, and still haven't continued with it. So I am around like 40-ish% through this one, so I still have a way to go with this, and so I do believe it will count, because I could read a short novel that is the same amount of pages as the pages that I have left in this one. This is over 450 pages, so I think it still counts. So in this we have a very unique world, and even if we are in the same world in the sequel as we are in the first book, it's still very different. We are in a different part of this world, and so the setting is drastically different, the political landscape is different, and again we have a murder happening, and we follow our main characters, Anna and Din, as they're trying to figure out who done it, who has gone missing in this particular case, because the corpse has vanished, but someone is missing and someone has done it, and what's happening. And of course there's a bigger conspiracy happening in the background. It is a very dense writing style. It has a very interesting magic system, as well as very interesting characters. So go into this knowing that in the beginning you will not really understand much of how anything works and what this world looks like, but know that it is very much worth it in the end. I do believe you could start with this one, because like I said, it is a new mystery, a new kind of place you start as. There are like reflections about the first book, but not too many, so I don't think you would spoil too much of the first book if you would start with this one. But as a true fantasy reader, I do believe just go with The Tainted Cup if you haven't read anything in this series yet. But yes, this is for the green cover. I know it's more like yellow, but I do believe there's enough green to go around to fit for this prompt. The next prompt asks us to choose a book that has a low rating on any platform that we look up books, but we still feel like we'll enjoy. And so I went just to my June TBR and looked at all the books that I'm planning to read anyway, and looked at what had the lowest rating. And for me, that was The Last Bookstore on Earth by Lily Brown Arnold, and it only has a 3.41 average rating so far, and it isn't a bad rating. Like 3.5 stars is like a good rating, a good read, so I wouldn't mind if this turns out to be a 3.5 star read. Hopefully, of course, it's higher. I have read the first couple of pages in this before, and I enjoyed the writing style. There's like a snark to it that I really enjoy. And in this, we are in a dystopian world in the near future. Something happened that kind of made the world collapse. And in this world we have a 17-year-old survivor. She lives in an old bookstore and trades the books for supplies that she might need. Now there's the rumor that another storm is about to hit them, and so the bookstore needs fixing up, making sure that she will survive the next wave as well. That is where Maeve comes in. She wants to hide in the bookstore to survive, and usually the main character, I forgot her name at the moment, she would have said no and like wanted to stay there herself, but Maeve is the only one who can help her fix everything up. So she agrees, and these two girls get to know each other and probably fall in love. And yeah, I love dystopian, like near dystopian kind of worlds where you're kind of like, this could happen any second now. Some moments are probably going to be hard to read and kind of see the parallels to our world right now, but it's still going to be fun. I mean, the bookstore setting is going to be cute, and just a sapphic romance before like ultimate doom. I mean, it's gonna be fun. The next prompt is to choose a book that is set in a large city, and for that I chose He's to Die For. New York City works. Next. The next book is supposed to have a violent word in the title, and I chose Bloody Rose by Nicholas Eames. A violent word was actually harder than I thought, because a lot of words are kind of dark words, but I didn't particularly think they were violent. I mean, there's a difference between just dark or sad words and violent words, but I feel like bloody is violent. Bloody tells you something about this. And in this case it's about one of the main characters, Rose. Rose is part of the first book of this series. I don't know if it's only a two-parter, but I really enjoyed the first part, which was Kings of the Wild, in which we follow a group of mercenaries who were a bit past their prime. They had stopped being mercenaries, but they kind of came back together, like they brought the band back together in order to help one of their own, and it was so much fun. It has had such a unique humor, and we just follow these older gentlemen who know how to take a beating and save the world. And in this next installment is kind of a companion novel to the first one. We follow the daughter of one of the mercenaries. Her name's Rose, and we follow her and her band of mercenaries as they save the world, I guess. And in it we've also followed Tam, who has worked in a pub and has heard all of these amazing stories about these kinds of bands, and she just wants to be part of the adventure, and so she joins them. And I do believe, or I'm hoping, it is going to be a sapphic romance between Tam and Rose. Not sure though, but nonetheless, this I feel like is perfect for found family, this band that always goes out and saves the world. I mean, in the first one I would definitely say found family, and this one I feel like high probability. So it still works for the bonus prompts of my team, even if it's not queer. Not sure yet. I will let you guys know. So the next prompt is to read a book that has a celestial or a godly word in the title, and I have two books that, one of them I mentioned quite a lot last year. This year I promised I would never tell you about it again, and now I will. I'm sorry, I'm gonna break my promise. And the other book is something that I started last month. So both of them I have started. Both of them I want to read in June. Both of them would work for this prompt, so whenever this prompt will come up I will read one of them, if not both. So we have Heaven's Bodies by Imani Eriu, and we have Celestial Monsters by Aidan Thomas. Let's quickly talk about Celestial Monsters. This is the sequel to The Sunbearer Trials, which was one of my favorite books the year that I read it, and this is the sequel and the finale, and I love the characters. It's very queer. It has the trial and competition part in it. In the sequel everything just went to hell, literally, and so we basically follow our heroes down to hell in order to save their friends and families and their world. And why have I not read this before? I mean, I do have the audiobook for this now, so I do want to go back into reading this. I just had to put it down again for various reasons, so that's why I haven't continued with it. It is beautifully written. I love the author, and so I really want to get back to his work. This needs to be read, and I mean, it's Pride Month, so doubly it needs to be read. And if I've read this already, when the prompt comes up there is another book that I can read, as is for any of the other prompts, to be honest, but in this case I wanted to mention this because this has been on a few people's TBRs already, so I wanted to quickly mention that it's on my radar as well. And that is Heavenly Bodies, like I said, by Imani Eriu. Still not sure how to say that one. And in this one we have gods that are basically I want to say inspired by the Roman gods, but they have kind of a connection to the stars, and we follow different characters from different countries that all worship one or the other gods. And we follow a girl who has a prophecy thrust upon her, and she kind of runs away from it into another country where she is part prisoner, part protege when they try to turn her into a weapon and use her magic. And so she has to work with, is it the prince or like the general or something from the opposing side, in order to like awaken her gifts, so to speak. I have started this, so I should know if he's the prince or the general, but I've already forgotten. But the writing style was very easy, and the interactions between these two were really fun to read. And I gotta be honest, I probably wouldn't have picked this up because it does sound very like generic in some aspects, but I saw Becca from Becca and the Books talk about this, and she was head over heels for Enzo, who's the love interest, and I was like, okay, I need to know about Enzo. Tell me more about him. So yeah, so far I can see the appeal. Let's hope it stays that way. For the next prompt, we need to read a book that is shorter than the last book, which of course means that I have to see what I read before this prompt arrives. But I am just gonna put Saga on here for this prompt because it is only 154 pages long, and they only count half because it's a graphic novel. So I'm pretty sure that whatever I read before this prompt comes up is going to be longer than this one. Makes sense. So in this one, it is volume 12, so we are a bit into the story at this point. But this is a very intergalactic story about two different sides of a war, and two people, one from each of the sides, who fall in love. They have a kid, and now they are the most wanted people in the universe, and everybody in all of the sides and other people are trying to get to them and kind of make them disappear because their union isn't really wanted from either side of the war. So we follow this family, and it's just the cutest thing ever to follow their story. Heartbreaking at times, but also very cute. And we have the perspective of the little girl as she grows older. She talks about, she kind of looks back on her life with her family. It is very graphic though, so be prepared to open this up and see everything. Sometimes you just don't want to see it, but you will. So I'm really happy to get into this latest volume of this one. The next prompt that we get is to have a book that has an over-the-top cover. And for this, I think lots going on, lots of different colors, a lot like things to catch your eye. And I had a few on my TBR that could work for this one, but I put one that I really want to get to, and that is released early in the month, so hopefully I can get to it very quickly. If so, then that's good, but if the release date comes and goes and I still haven't read it, finally this prompt comes up, then I will have to read it for this prompt. And that is The Two Lies of Faven Scythe by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is a standalone sci-fi, and we follow, again, a mystery aspect, so this is a genre blend as well. So we have mystery sci-fi, which is becoming one of my favorite things in sci-fi. So we have a missing person, and we follow Faven, who is not human, but she's of a near human species, it says, and her mentor is missing, and she wants to find out what it is. She is part of a galactic navigator occupation and so she charts the stars and helps people get from A to B, and she follows a star chart from her mentor, and it leads to this kind of graveyard of dead ships, and that's kind of where the road ends, and she just wants to know where to go from here. And so she asks a pirate to help because they seem to have all the answers that she's looking for, but they know better than to go into this graveyard of dead ships. So all of this sounds good. It says it has a very like galactical interstellar conspiracy that they come across, so it sounds good, especially it's like a standalone. So all of the answers will be in this book, and I have an arc and I need to get to it. And just looking at this cover with not only space and space adjacent things, but also kind of like animals in space, it just looks so good. So I'm happy to get to this one. And the last prompt is to read a book that has a winter setting or like a chilly cover. I'm not really into winter right now because we are in June, so I went with a chilling cover, and I chose Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This is also the book club pick from Gavin's Patreon for June, I believe, so that works perfectly. I have been meaning to get to this one, and again, I didn't have the time because I kind of want to take my time with it because it sounds amazing and people are like screaming about this, and everybody has like their favorite quotes and everything, so I do want to take my time and annotate this maybe. So I feel like this is very chilling. Anything to do with like creepy forests and body horror or something and flowers coming out, that's kind of scary. I believe this follows two friends who kind of lean on each other. One of them is an artist, one of them writes stories about like eldritch characters, and so that's kind of their connection and they have a close friendship. But now all of a sudden one of them, Thomas, is kind of becoming a recluse. He's not coming to school anymore. His parents seem to have vanished, and he doesn't really want to talk to our main character Andrew anymore. And Andrew is kind of worried about it, and he goes and tries to figure out what's happening to Thomas when he sees him going into this creepy forest and fighting animals, creatures that seem to be manifestations of the drawings that Thomas does. And so Andrew tries to help him, and that's kind of what the story is about. Them getting closer, but also the creatures becoming darker and more powerful, and whatever happens between them. I have heard there's amazing ace rep in this, so that's what I'm happy for. I do hope that my expectations aren't too high because of everything that I've heard so far. But I'm just gonna go into it, and hopefully it's as great as it sounds. And hopefully I can get on the hype train with everybody else, because that sounds like a journey I want to be part of. So those are the 10 prompts for the Amazing Readathon. Don't Let the Forest In is a buddy read with the patrons of Gavin. I'm gonna link his channel down below if you don't know him yet. There are 3 other buddy reads, read-alongs that I want to take part in. Again, for Gavin's Patreon, we have the next Christie solve-along, where we read an Agatha Christie novel and we stop right before the big reveal, and then we kind of talk on a live show about who we think did it and why and how it all happened. Mostly we are wrong. Sometimes we're right, and Gavin is weirdly good at this. And so the next one that we're reading together for June is Evil Under the Sun, and I'm hoping that this time will be the time where I get everything right and I just know. We'll see. Next we have Michael Crichton's The Lost World, and with this one we have Leandra and Rainey, and they are both reading the series as well, and they do live shows every Sunday where they read the book and you can join in. I feel like Jurassic Park is something that we all know and love as a movie franchise. I've never heard too many people talk about the books, so I'm glad that last month I joined in and I read Jurassic Park and I enjoyed it so much. I'm glad about the changes that they made for the movie, but I see how closely it actually was to the book, so I had a lot of fun with it. I gave it 4 stars. So I'm going into The Lost World and just having fun, just being part of the community. And then we have the catch-up book club, and in May we had the live show for Ruin. I actually didn't manage to even really start the book. I only read like the first couple of chapters, and then I stopped because I knew that I wasn't gonna get it done until the live show, and after that I didn't pick it back up. I do want to be part of the last live show, which should be the beginning of July. So in June and in the beginning of July I will have to read Ruin as well as Wrath. Chunky books, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I do want to complete one of the read-alongs that Becca is doing with a bunch of other hosts, and I really enjoyed the other discussions around the books. I did enjoy the second book in this quartet more than the first book, way more, and everybody is in love with Ruin. They're saying that's their favorite in the series, so I really want to get back and continue with this and hopefully agree with them, and then go right into Wrath so that I can take part in the discussion in the beginning of July. That's it. That is the last of the books that I want to put on this TBR. It is long enough because of all the prompts for the Amazing Readathon. Like I said, those aren't set in stone. I will read whatever I want to read in order for me to keep up my reading pace and just stick with it. I have noticed during the last couple of months that I was so focused on Libby and everything that I got from there, as well as reading things that I needed to read for work, for events that we were doing, that I kind of ended up picking books that were only mid. They were only 3 stars, maybe even less so, and so my experience overall wasn't that great. I had so many arcs for May and I didn't get to most or any of them because I had other things that I needed to pick up, because Libby wanted it back, or because of the event at work, that could have done with less of the books that I read, to be honest. I could have read less for that and still like crushed it, which I did. And I could have just picked up something like Faithbreaker that I will probably enjoy a lot more. So what I did is I went ahead and I cancelled a lot of the things that I had on Libby. A lot of the things had been on there for a while because it takes like months for me to get it. I did it. I just threw everything out. So that's also why the books that I put on this TBR were only arcs that I have for June, so that the May thing doesn't happen again, as well as physical copies that I already own, so that I can finally put an emphasis on things that I really, really, really want to read and that I think will get a high star rating. So please pray with me that this is going to be an amazing reading month. Let me know down in the comments what you're planning on reading. If you're taking place in the Amazing Readathon, let me know what team you're on. No pressure. You don't have to be on Lore Keepers, but we're gonna crush it. Let's be honest. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe if you haven't already. And until the next time, I hope you have all the great reads. Bye. What was that? Bye.